Welcome back. Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And in studio, I got somebody that I've known for a long time, but more so really through other people that I've worked with way back in the day when I was on these microphones, more like from hip hop and music. I've known him being a person that has been collected to a lot of other things in business. Clothes is actually, I still got them saved in my phone, right? But now on to other ventures, restaurants, nightlife. Along with nightlife and restaurants, films have brought him back into so many of the folds where we crossing paths today. Ty, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, bro. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So much of this Detroit story, as I say, like entrepreneurship has been kind of the gateway of how I've known you, right? So I really want to get some of these roots of how did that start? Did you always know that you wanted to run a business?
I did. It's like I did and I didn't, I always had that spirit in me, like in high school, like I used to sell mixtapes and even as a younger kid, I had a table set up selling like football cars, some of my brother's old football cars they had from the 70s.
Yeah.
And I had set up a table outside in front of the house. We had did that like twice, me and some kids from the neighborhood. So it was like, I was always into that. But at the time, that wasn't like promoted. Like my mother never was like, hey, one day have your own business. She would say, one day you should be a doctor. One day you could be the president. My mother used to tell me I could be the president of the United States, back, when that was unheard of to think. Because you got to think that's like, 20 plus years before there was a black president, right? Or 30, whatever. I don't even know how old I was when we had a black president. But so it was those type of things that was like in me. That later came out once it was that time to make that decision. You know what I mean?
So always recognizing it's a market to sell. So now you kind of went right into like where we always start these stories, your Detroit story and your family. How many generations deep are you to Detroit?
Well, my father is original Detroiter.
Okay.
So my father has never lived anywhere else. My mother is from Mississippi.
Whereabouts Mississippi?
In Bentonia, Mississippi, right outside of Jackson.
Okay. All right. You ever been down there?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I used to go out there every summer.
Okay. Now, Jackson is another one of those chocolate cities for sure. Really, Mississippi is a chocolate state. But what was that feel like? And also coming like after like a lot of that wave in the migration, what led for your mom and them to come up this way as time went on? Because so many families were already up here.
Yeah, so my mom moved up here with her older sister. Her older sister had come. Some of my uncles had come and got a job at the factory. It was always chasing that money. The migratory patterns back in the day, original man chased food and then we chased money, so from Mississippi here, was those factory jobs. You see what I'm saying?
And it's unique because so many along those patterns of the migration were railroad tracks. So like a lot of that Mississippi kind of goes straight over to Chicago. So I guess you probably got family in Chicago big time because that's where we at. And so many families here are from Alabama and Georgia. But I am hearing more of these Mississippi stories in Detroit as I do more of these Detroit is Different interviews.
No, Mississippi. And I meet people that's from Mississippi, or they family background. I honestly meet more people that say Mississippi, and I don't know if it stick out because that's where we from. You know what I mean? Yeah. But my father, like I said, he had never lived, but my father's family is from Uniontown, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uniontown, Pennsylvania. That already sounds like one of them steel mill type stiller places or something, man.
And I never been there.
Okay.
But it's crazy. Like one time I was at one of my parties, bro, and it was eerie because I couldn't even remember at the time. Like it was this bouncer at this bar we was doing a party at on Ferndale, right? He was like, "You from Uniontown, Pennsylvania?"
Interesting.
And I was like, and I paused because I'm like, wait, I think that's the town my father from. But I'm thinking like, how did he
put that two and two together?
I'm like, nah. I'm like, but I think I got family. And he's like, I know you got to because you look like them. And I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? So yeah, that was crazy.
All right. So about getting up this way, what neighborhood was your dad at and come up in? And then what neighborhood did your mom end up settling when coming here?
So my father was from the west side of Detroit. He went to Cass Tech, all of that. I really don't even know what street. I really don't know what street he grew up on,
Mm-hmm.
or what areas in the city he lived at. I really got to ask him that too.
Okay.
But my mother, she came here and she was living in Inkster, and then that's where I was like born and then raised up for most of my young life in Inkster.
Okay, so Inkster, and it's been brought up in these shows before. Shout out to Skrill and so many other people. Jason, a lot of people from Inkster and downriver, River Rouge, even that Southwest Detroit, that was kind of the last neighborhood where a lot of families settled in Detroit. What was did the feel of that neighborhood? Did you, and you say you grew up in that space, what was it like as a kid? What do you remember? What was that community?
Man, it was crazy because we were in the like last generation in that neighborhood of like borrowing sugar from the neighbor, all the families being intertwined, big brothers, and the little brothers is friends, the big brothers are friends, the moms hang out real cool, getting a ride to school, carpooling. It was a lot of that was going on, but I was there, like, I remember the 80s as far as like, I can remember like the drug game, kind of like the lowrider trucks and the knots with the rubber band with around like that, I remember that era. And I remember in the beginning when I was real young, I didn't really witness a lot of crime like that. And then when it got closer to the late 80s, that's when I saw first person, like when I was like 9, the first person I ever seen get shot, right? I was like 9 years old. You see what I'm saying? And it was actually like a Demetrius Holloway hit on one of the best friends. And I didn't even know that until I read a Don Diva magazine later on, that's what that was. But I remember that vividly, how it happened and everything, And I read about it later in a Don Diva magazine. And when I was reading, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, dang, I was right. I saw that, But I can remember that change. And then after we left Inkster, we moved to Westland. And once we moved there, like the beginning of the early 90s, neighborhood went totally left field. Like totally left, like real bad. So yeah, I was there in that shift of when like stuff really got bad, crime really, really took off, where you had the homicides, stuff like that.
So Westland is another one of those communities, not far, but in that footprint. And what's really happening when this is brought up so many times in Detroit is different. And I try to like paint the picture so people get a better understanding that some of the sentencing laws with crack cocaine tied to a lot of the industrialization moving to automation. So a lot of the reason why people came here were for a lot of jobs that most of our lifetime, those jobs were leaving. So you get an influx of opportunity, as they say. The streets is always hiring.
Right.
And then you get less opportunity that was always kind of relied upon. So that transition from like the late 80s to the early 90s finds a lot of not just Detroit, but some of the similar industrial cities facing realities that we've never seen. And that could be like Gary, Indiana, that's Flint, that's Cleveland, that's Chicago, that's Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, and a lot of these different spaces in the footprint, Akron, and the story continues to permeate. And also some of these escapes, that's where drugs and kind of come into play. But in Westland, kind of, I guess now in settling, and it's almost like you all leave Inkster to say, okay, let's get away from some of the chaos. And then it still kind of stays present no matter where.
Oh, like, are you saying like, did it stay present in Westland?
Yeah.
So man, the funny thing about my experience in Westland, right? This is one of those examples how you could say a bad apple could spoil a bunch, right? And there was a situation where when I was living in Westland, there was like a neighboring community in Wayne, Michigan that was actually nicer than our neighborhood.
Mm.
For some reason, well, I ain't gonna say some reason, but there was more black people in this neighborhood. Okay.
Mhm.
And they had nicer houses. All the houses were big. It was like nice. And it was more black people over there. And it was like a black family from Detroit moved into my neighborhood, right? And because at first, really, we was the only black people over in this neighborhood in Westland. And he came, and he was saying that he was in a gang and these things like that, right?
Mhm.
And then he kind of like brought like gang and culture and like violence and us. He brought that to our neighborhood and just into that neighboring community where he brought the criminal like out of some guys that I think that tendency to do that was laying dormant because they didn't have anybody around them to kind of like to like nurture that spirit inside of them. But like when they came with that energy, it's like those people became it like it's funny because like what they said they were doing in Detroit, like I had a cousin that actually knew them. So when he came, my cousin used to visit me all the time. And I told him like, yeah, some new guys in the neighborhood, man, they real gangsters. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, and I said their names. He was like, huh? And he repeated the name. And I was like, yeah, that's them. He said, man, they got ran out of the middle school he was at, right? So it was like, they made it seem like they were in the city running it and being but it was like they were having a hard time out here in the city. You see what I'm saying? And they came out there and then they turned some other guys, some people still in prison right now. It's like they influenced them in a way to be like real gangsters. You know what I mean? In a way, almost like a Tupac, right? Like Tupac, like how Tupac wasn't doing a lot of that stuff he was saying, but he influenced a lot of people to do it. See what I'm saying? I feel like they did the same thing. Like they influenced some people and put the battery in their back to really be criminals.
And it's interesting even that you speak of this, as so many more discussions, shout out to Jason Wilson and many others, are just talking about like that imagery of black men, but especially like in that early 90s, the imagery is definitely like more threatening and scary. Or you are really, I mean, if you're younger and a black man, this is the prevalent image to most. So being tough, being a thug, being street and connected to that was alluring for a lot of young men too. And sadly, as you speak to, a lot of young men end up, making decisions at very young ages that impact the rest of their life from looking to find that place and space of where they feel comfort. So in this same, I guess, reality as you watch things change, what's your parents doing? What's happening? Just like other things around you, your family. What are you noticing? And now, how are you getting towards like, okay, now I'm about to figure out some entrepreneurial things to do.
Oh, so my father was an electrical engineer. My mother was a social worker. I didn't grow up with my father living with us.
When your mother worked as a social worker, where did she work out of?
Different hospitals. She, I grew up in like an extended family. I had like, my mom had two sisters, and one of her sisters had two sons. And they were 10 and 12 years older than me. One was 10 years, one was 12 years older than me.
Okay.
So growing up like, and so when you have like older, and we grew up like brother and sister, and I had a little sister too. She's like 3.5 years younger than me. So growing up like that, I love growing up like that. I mean, because you grow up fast when you like around like older siblings, and they're like they were my cousins, but I call them my brothers. So my brothers, they didn't like tell me to leave when their friends came around. Like they didn't say, go, get out of here. So I was around, like hearing them talk, having in conversations with men and young teenagers that was way older than me. So it taught me to socialize at a higher level than most people in my age, But and it taught me a lot of street, because they were in the streets, and I learned a lot about the streets at a younger age. So I had that kind of side in me, but I also, like my father, I wanted to be like an electrical engineer like him.
Mm.
When I went to college, man, like, you know, the mid to late 90s was like this .com boom. Technical jobs, it's when the .com was coming in. It was when electrical engineering became like the one field that you could come out of school and make and at the time that was a lot of money to come out and make 50 or 60,000 like out of college. That was great because everything else was like 30 then, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that, and right when it was time for me to start getting internships, September 11th, boom. So we end up in the Great Recession.
So if I get this, and then you skipped over, I do want to ask
My
what
bad.
high school you went to and
Okay.
what college you went to, and what was that experience like. But let's just go to September 11th and just how that transitioned so much of what you were looking at in reference to that. Also, like people remember like Y2K when you talk about .com and a lot more interest in websites and where things are at. The closest thing that I often tell people now, it's like, I'm watching, I saw a lot of what's happening in AI. I put similar to like the early ages of the internet where people were kind of finding footing in what ways they wanted to make this grow. Cause a lot of those first internet companies were all venture capital. The money wasn't necessarily made back. It was an investment, knowing that, okay, value is here, interest is here. How will it make sense? Similar to what's happening with a lot of artificial intelligence too.
Yeah. So to answer that, like, so the question is
more so at that moment in time, as you're thinking about what pivot you're going to make,
right.
What are you thinking?
Oh yeah. So basically, right, like, so the job market was amazing for engineers right before this. I'm talking about 95, 96, all of that. Come even 99. Come when what year? I don't remember what year it was. The towers.
2011. I remember it because that was the day that Jay-Z dropped dropped Blueprint. 2011, 9/11. Yep.
No, not 2011.
I mean 2001.
2001. Okay, I was about to say. I'm like, all right.
2001.
2001.
September 11th, 2001.
Okay, cool.
That. Yep.
So 2001, the economy was kind of going down already. It was. I'm not going to lie. It was. But when the towers fell and the housing market crashed, it just progressed it all. So like now it was super duper competitive to get an internship. Like they were taking people out of college. And then at that moment, it was all about the experience and internships where it was not before.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Then it shifted to, well, you got to have an internship. And then it was so hard to get an internship. And it was like, I'm like, I don't know, what to do, and I had started my entrepreneurial spirit kicked in. I went out of town once to start and just peeped a little, like some swag some dudes was doing out when I went to the All-Star game in Philly, and I told this story a lot. A lot of people heard it, but I came back and tapped into that when I came back here and started selling clothes with like NBA patches. I started selling bootleg Rockaware stuff from New York. You know what I mean? I started selling throwback jerseys. I started making Pistons championship t-shirts. Man, before you knew it, man, like I was making a lot of money doing this stuff.
So the clothing was something more so as you were finding the pivot and you were thinking, okay, I can make some money here. And then your thought process was probably getting back to engineer. When do you make the shift to say, nope, I'm in entrepreneurship?
Well, so when I basically like, I always like from the beginning, right? I was always into understanding why are people making this decision to do whatever they're doing. Because if I'm making a living selling one thing, I need to know, why are you buying this? How can I keep doing it, right? And so when I started selling the patches on the clothes, I'm like, all right, this is a trend. And I understand that this is a trend. So I'm like, I need a brand. I need to start a brand so that when this trend is over, I can have this brand and the brand will keep going. So that's when I came out with the District 81. I had the idea to do the military shirt, and it had patches and stuff like that. Originally, it was supposed to be like Boy Scout patches, but then I switched it to military patches. But and it was like the patch thing. So when looking for these NBA patches, I started seeing Boy Scout patches, and I'm like, dang, that'll look sweet on some stuff. Because I didn't realize how sweet them patches were. You see what I'm saying? And so that's when I came out with the brand District 81.
Mhm.
And within District 81, I always was trying to figure out how to keep it going. And I kept it going for 20 years. You see what I'm saying?
Most definitely.
Yeah, so that was a brand I had for 20 years.
All right. So now I guess we can go a little back in time. What high school and what college you go to?
So I went to Westland John Glenn
Okay.
in high school.
All right. How I just gotta ask this. How many black students was that? Was it like 50-50? Was it like you be like, oh man, that's another black person?
It was so Westland opened up the school. Back then they had a couple neighborhoods, really, like it was like in Inkster, if you lived in between like Michigan Ave and Cherry Hill,
Mm-hmm.
you could go to John Glenn.
Okay.
So, and don't get it twisted, Inkster is like a few square miles, so it's not a lot of kids. But and at the time Inkster High was open, so some kids would go closer to Inkster High. But they had a John Glenn, a bus system that would take you. So a lot of those students, and then a lot of those kids. Remember I told you about my neighborhood, like some of us went to the same middle school, but then a lot of them kids went to Wayne Memorial that was in that Wayne neighborhood.
Mm.
And then so basically all the black kids were pretty much, all of them came from Inkster.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still, at the time, we talking 12% black.
Wow. What
now it's like what you said, I think.
Maybe like 50-50.
Yeah, maybe
closer, but maybe
black.
Yeah. What do you think that at that tone in the 90s, how did you navigate that? What was that feeling like, just getting your comfort?
My mom had always put us in like private schools.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was always accustomed. I never went to an all black school. Never.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't even know what that was like. I would have to find comfort in that. Like, that was the kind of situation. I lived in a neighborhood with all black, but I never
went to the school
community of blacks from all these different neighborhoods all in one. I never necessarily experienced that.
Okay. Where do you go for college?
U of M Dearborn.
Why did you make that choice to go to U of M Dearborn?
Really, both my parents went to Michigan. And actually so they both of them, my father went to U of M Dearborn for engineering. Mm-hmm. My mother went to Ann Arbor and U of M Dearborn.
Okay. Now, U of M Dearborn is also a school that, because I went to Henry Ford, is one of those schools where you have a lot of adult students too. What was it like just adjusting, being probably now you're maybe the youngest person in some of your classes?
Oh, I mean, that was it was an experience. Like I went to school with a few OGs. Mm-hmm. One, it was funny because I went to school with somebody who had their own clothing brand. And I supported them. And the funny thing about that, man, and that's what I know. Like I always had that support even before I was in the entrepreneurship. Because the dude that went to school, his name was Lon Ray. He was older than me. He was a Q dog. He had this brand called God Sports. And it had a logo on it that I liked, and it was a Scully, and I bought it from him. You know what I mean? Like I knew then, man, the importance of supporting people, man. And that's the first, and that's one of the, like I to think about that now, like, man, like I saw him, he had his own brand, and I didn't even think about that at that time. Like I was working at Saks Fifth Avenue, and I was in love with clothes, man, like Gucci's, Pradas. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I was into that, or Jabot's, Rocawear, Sean John, but I still supported his hat. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're getting back to like getting that brand and building it. And I remember the patches too, because that was what was introduced. And you still do business with Rip. So shout out to Off Rip. And I remember the different NBA logos would be all in like District 81. I was like, yo, this is fly.
Well, the NBA logos wasn't those two different things. So I had when you first saw it, I was called the New Jersey Kid. Mm-hmm. So when I came with those patches, those military patches with the District 81. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Rip, he was mainly like, he was around me when I was doing the patches and stuff, but he really embraced that District 81.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of it was like almost for like every team, like a different design. Who were your designers? How did you find your designs? What were you doing? Because at this time, like right now, so many people have different brands, which I support, but it was it was relatively like I think I look at it like you, Kool-Aid, um, and Fame, like like it was just like kind of like unheard of as far as like those are the brands I remember most of like, oh, this is a Detroit brand and it's multiple varieties. How did you go about even navigating this?
And let's talk about that, right? So it's like when it came to like a certain demo, right? Of like Fame did it. Fame had like a t-shirt, and then like my District 81 shirts, like I remember when his shirt with the dollar bill in it, the real money. So like Fame hit a national, like he was making money nationally. I made money nationally selling clothes. Fame did as well. When it came as far as like like with people like I would say like the who's who fashion crowd. We talking about the streets. We talking about people really spending money on clothes, right? That was buying like at the time because people didn't buy. People don't understand. Like we talking early 2000. People were not going and buying Gucci clothes because they didn't fit right. We weren't wearing our clothes small then, so you didn't see people in the clothes that we wore was catered to a urban crowd. That's why it wasn't
Yeah.
so many different brands that we wore, right?
Mhm.
It was just certain ones. So my stuff was in the hottest store in Fairlane. So District 81 was in Four Men
Mhm.
and City Man and those kind of strictly sports where you didn't see anybody else that was local or from this town selling in stores at that level. They might have been selling it on their own, or they might have selling in the lower end,
Mhm.
but they weren't in the best stores, Simply Casual. You know what I mean? But
So
for Reds, yeah.
how did you even develop these relationships? And then now we're getting into really like a lot of this distribution. This is going concurrent with like a lot of hip hop brands starting.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's a movement of a lot of things happening, but consignment, agreements,
Right.
shipping sizes, like how are you building these relationships with these stores?
So really like with the stores, I I was selling some of these stores like picture shirts with pictures on them, piston shirts and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
So what happened? But I had a relationship with stores at the time. Four Men was like would be the most premium store
I
around.
would consider Four Men for people that don't know. So Four Men is a clothing retailer, may still be around, but I know in Fairlane was a very hot spot, and then they had one in Tel 12 Mall,
In
I
Eastland.
remember, and they had one in Eastland. But it was the like premier urban fashion space where like if you were gonna get the premier Fubu or Sean John or Rockaware, anything like that, like basically if you're gonna buy some $200 jeans in 2003,
Right.
you probably are going to
Red
Four
Monkey,
Men.
Vizu,
Yes.
what right?
Mhm.
So um what happened was I wasn't selling them. I wasn't doing any business with Four Men, but I knew like these other people, they knew me for t-shirts. And now I want to sell a real brand.
Mhm.
So I was like, man, I'm gonna go to Four Men first. Cause they knew that I was doing they knew what I was doing. They would see me in there promoting my parties. So they
Mhm.
knew my face. But they didn't really like it was like, they was bougie in Four Men too. Like known for being bougie. I love you, Ben, Cal, but people really felt like Four Men staff was super bougie.
But wait. I do
Yeah.
have to say this though too. I gotta say, Four Men and Max Greens will have some of the finest women working there all the time, and that was like half the battle. So like you knew just walking by because it's like, damn, she fine as ever, and she like, you want to get something today? It's like, do I got $100 to waste on a t-shirt?
Oh yeah, Say La
That
Vie,
was
Be Aroma, you know what I mean? Them was the one.
It was
Had them
it was
girls
some
in there. Gabby,
so
what's up? They
yep.
loved the
Yeah,
Gabby. I
they
remember
would
them girls.
definitely yes, Gabby
Mhm.
from CT. We definitely
Mhm.
know. Yes.
Yep.
That was a part of the pitch all the time. You knew it was bougie, but you knew like, hey,
Yeah,
half
you
the
know
battle.
what time it was.
Mhm.
So yeah, but so I'm like, I'm gonna go to the hardest door first. for me to get into.
Mhm.
I want to get into the best right away, and I don't want, because I didn't want somebody like, let me do consignment
Mm.
because I know you. And it's funny because I went to them first, and then I was at Hip Hop University. I didn't even go to Strictly with it right away.
Mm.
Strictly didn't even know it was mine because I just knew how Kathy was at the time.
And shout out to Kathy.
I love
one of
Kathy.
The she'll be coming on soon, but like an institution of like building something and a brand and talk about being in a boys club of like a lot of entrepreneurs. For sure. More power. But also I want to talk about like, so co-Simon, if a person doesn't know, is basically like, I'll have a product, Ty has a store, I have 10 widgets, I'm talking real business
Right.
class, whatever, right? And I'll say, all right, my widget costs, I need $7 back, you should sell it for $12. So he would make 5 and I would make the 7. So I'm going to leave 10 of these pieces here and I'll come back in 2 weeks and they should be sold. The co-signment is the agreement that once I come back and those 10 are sold, I'll get the $70. He's made the 50. But that's not like straight sales. A straight sale would be like, look, I'm going to sell it to you for 7 and we suggest the price be 12. Whole different type of business arrangement.
Right, and you get paid up front. So It's like you want to get paid up front. Now we're going to introduce another term. So with 4 Men, it wasn't a consignment deal. It was a net 30 deal. So that meant I gave them the goods and in 30 days the invoice was due and then I would give them the wholesale price on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just so you know, in the fashion business, people would like double and then add like $5. That's called keystoning in the fashion business. So keystone would be you get double plus like $5, $10. Just a little bit over double is called keystone. And what keystoning does is like a lot of people don't understand, like when you buy something from a brand, right? They're going to give you the wholesale price, but they're going to also charge you shipping. So a lot of people think, all right, I just paid $25 so you're charging me $25. They might say, all right, I'm going to sell it for $50. Not knowing that when that box came in with a $30 shipping charge on it. And you paid that. So to totally flip and get double, you got to add a little something to cover the shipping. And that's called keystoning. So, but 4 Men though, they were known to like, if your wholesale was $50, they was going to get $125 for it. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, and so they was gonna really get a good margin. But
if the same jeans in 4 Men, you could go to Macy's and probably buy for $100 instead of $125. I'm just
for sure, But so that's what I did. I went to them first, and then by the time like some of the stores that I had relationships with, they had already heard about the brand. So when Kathy finally saw me at a trade show, she was like, I've been looking for these. I didn't know this was yours. Why you ain't bring them to me? I'm like, and I never even told her about them because when she finally came, I wanted her to buy them outright.
There you go.
So I needed her to respect me as a real fashion designer versus just her t-shirt guy.
Yeah.
And that's the way I did it. And then I start, and everybody else, Simply Casual, Rufus, everybody else, Puffer Reds, I was getting paid up front. City Man, all of it.
All right, so in this, and you still are into other ventures and things at the time, but I remember like a lot of the equipment. I remember like seeing the warehouse. I remember seeing so much of like, well, this is like a whole brand. Now, as this is happening and coming to life, what type of time are you investing into growing this business and growing this brand, and how are you staying like on the pulse of the trends? Because so many of the trends shift fast in urban fashion.
Oh my gosh, my journey with that was crazy, man. Like, so first, I was doing the t-shirts. I had a lot of people that was like making moves and around like buying custom t-shirts from me, and I was even making them for record labels, Made West, EBE Entertainment. So I was making shirts for people, and every time they came, I had my machine, and I would give them a free shirt that said District 81 on it. So I was getting the name, and they would go wear them to strip clubs and wear them out for real. They wasn't just washing a car in them. So I started getting that name out there and branding from these T-shirts that I was just making that said the name right on across the front of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then so you couldn't go anywhere, and it was like that for a long time. Like at first you couldn't go nowhere without seeing a District 81 button-up shirt. Let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was running the tables with that. Then the trends changed too, because I was doing the button-up shirts and stuff like that. Once Jay-Z said button up, no more jerseys. That was the round when I was doing the button-ups.
Yeah,
Then
the Excuse Me Miss Jay-Z era, I do remember I had like maybe 3 of the District 81 button-ups. It was like, it went from like throwback jersey. It's like everybody like threw away throwback jerseys, and now the same crowd of people that was me mugging are now like in the Centaur bar.
Yeah, right. But you got to think the trend came with the real button up with French cuffs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With cuff links, like that was like a regular shirt. Right after that, it went to another extreme though.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, man. It is so funny that people really don't understand. I've seen the fashion just change right in front of my eyes, every level that we see it now. So one time, Tom Hopkins, shout out to Tom Hopkins, that was always my mentor. One day, he was going to a clothing show, and he was like, man, let's go. I'm gonna have you come with me. So we went to a clothing show, and that was where retailers would come wholesale their garments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Shady brand was coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Shady brand had a hoodie without the jogging pants to match. At the time, that was unheard of. When I did a button up with no jeans and no pants to go, that was unheard of.
Well, you had to try to match. It was so weird because it's like, I love Jabos so much. Shout out to those old Jabos. But it was like, okay, you can't wear Jabos no more. So it's like, all right, what do I get with this shirt? And really, I think a lot of, which I guess people always wear white Air Force Ones, but the white Air Force Ones seem to be the preferred shoe with button-ups.
Oh, right, jeans. For sure. And Cole Hines, you got to remember that too. So basically, so that was unheard of, and it didn't work for them, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the beginning, though, of like not too long after that, the hoodie, the streetwear situation came. And at that time, it was like, now it was like this skateboard, this Lil Wayne, this Bape, all of this, just a hoodie, no jogging pants to match. That started to come, and I conformed to that. And I started to make hoodies. I had the hoodie with the bandana wrapped. I didn't put those in stores. I was selling that all online on this site called Karma Loop. And at the time, Karma Loop was like a national multi-million-dollar. They had millions of visitors every single day to their website. And I was selling I would sell like 20 hoodies a day on their website. It was crazy. And we was pressing them all up. So that all that equipment you saw, I had a heat transfer machine.
Yeah.
And I used what's called plastisol ink transfers. And I had this designer, man, he was from Chicago. He made me a design, right? I told him the concept I wanted. This was back when the skeletons was hot.
I was gonna say, you just went into I remember after that, the skull and crossbone, Jim Jones era, and all of that starts
Yep. So that era comes in. And I gave him the concept for the design. He sent me a design, and it had a hoodie. So if those are that have a heat transfer machine, a heat transfer machine is just a hot plate. It's a plate that's hot. It's square. It might be 14 by 19 and a pad under, and you got to press down like this to get the image to go from the sheet of paper. Because it's a plastisol ink transfer. How that's made is they take ink and they screen print it. So it's like a screen made. They put the ink on there and the image comes out on the paper, but the ink has this bonding material in it. And it's like powder. It running through the oven, and then it heats up and it sticks to this paper. And then when you heat this ink back up, it'll stick to a garment, right? So the designer sent me this hoodie, man, and it had it was a print. It was part of the print was on the front, right? And then it had the shoulder was wrapped with some of the print. And then the other sleeve down here has some of it. The hood has some, and it was some on the back. I'm like, dude.
How am I going to press it?
I said, I can't make that. I got a heat transfer machine. That's the only equipment I have. And he was like, oh, I figured you was just gonna cut it up and move it around and piece it together. And I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got the point there. I never thought about that. Like, that concept alone made me like, and we'll get back to that, but that made me, just being able to do that and him telling me to do that made me so much money. It's unreal.
Now with that, the time that it takes is gonna exponentially go up. So like, it's more effort.
Yes.
But it definitely is something that most people wouldn't do because most people are just gonna do the straight press, like what you said.
Yeah. So that print to make one hoodie, it used to take like 4 sheets of the paper. Right. So how it worked was this. It was a design that had a lot of different stuff on there, these different elements. And so basically like we would take it, we press the first on the front. We cut it in half and then cut this little piece off from the bottom that was on there. And that little piece that we cut off on the bottom went on the side of the hood. That half we pressed one, so we'll lay the sleeve out, press one part of the sleeve, then flip the sleeve on the other side and press the other half of the sleeve. And sometimes you would see a little line. Sometimes they would link up a little off, but it just would wrap around the sleeve. And there was another little piece that we cut out that went
on the other arm
and on the back. So basically, you know, it was, I think like 3 sheets of the paper and 3. So it took like 3 designs to make one hoodie. And then we sold it with the scarf, the bandana, and the one print went on the bandana. And the bandanas I was getting super cheap. And I had a crazy margin. Like I was paying like $1 something for the bandana. Probably cost me $2 something to make the bandana. I was selling it for like $16.
Yeah.
And that was like a multiple sale, you know what I mean? An upsell.
Yeah.
A crazy upsell. And that was before upselling was like the thing, to have like an item and upsell, you know what I mean? So yeah, so that's how I conformed to like changing the trends. And you know, it went from that to me matching sneakers, you know, and then realizing like at one point we would match like the hottest jerseys when I opened up the store flagship.
Yeah.
I could order a print that had all of the colors because it was like people were buying specific shoe. The Barclays came, the foams came. That was, so I could just make a print in those colors, the great 5s. You see what I'm saying? Then the market changed again to where it wasn't necessarily those particular sneakers. It would be like people had a lot of random sneakers. It might be this random Air Max that came. It might be this, it might be that. So then my other wave was to go back to, I had a design called Detroit Native, and that old cutting came back. So when I had flagship, the majority of flagship, the majority of the time I was at flagship, like it might have lasted 1.5 years with me just having the design and just putting it on there and networking, to me having to have to design in order to be able to cut out pieces, piece it together, and then make the color schemes that people needed. And it would just be one design, and we had to cut it, and put it back together like a puzzle to get these people like something that matched their sneaker purpose.
Wow. And as this is going on, I'm witnessing, and you all see like the passion and the intentionality that he had with this. Like he was hands-on in that mix. It wasn't like you put money into this and you walking away and letting somebody else run it. You were like really walking the steps of a lot of that business for years.
For sure.
Right? And this is also running concurrent where you also are doing different events and promotions and things like that. Which leads you into the space of, right now, you run a restaurant and a comedy bar.
Yeah. So, and if we even talk about that, that's funny. Like, so when I think about all of the things, literally, man, like that I like spearheaded in the city, right? Like, so like, first of all, a commercially successful brand where all of the young people could look up and see like it's a popping brand on Instagram, and they go somewhere and everybody in the mainstream is wearing it. Like, I would say I did that with the 4 Men and stuff, but I really did it with the store on Livernois flagship, right? So like that store let people know like, oh, this is an avenue for me to make money, because me and my business partner, they saw that like, dang, we go everywhere in the city. They got the city on smash. Like literally east side, west side, everybody coming to this one store, buying stuff, getting stuff, jogging suits to match their sneakers. And we the hottest store in the city at the time, and we selling nothing but our brand. And then you start seeing more and more and more and more people come out with brands after that point. So we talking like 20, if you try to figure out how many brands you saw in 2010 versus how many brands you saw 2012 after the Instagram, and we showed people, you know, we had lines out the store. Then you want to talk about party promoting. See, I was party promoting like a lot of people that came after me, they were coming to my parties. Like even people that spearheaded a lot of parties you see now from Bravo and Bird. Bird is my business partner at Octane right now. Shout out to him. Yeah. Andre Blair, who kind of put a lot of stuff together at Annex. He got a new restaurant called Baru downtown right now. You had Above Average who was throwing college parties at the time. If you probably remember that.
I remember, and I guess like Game 7, T Woods, always making Shed.
Right.
You know, these are just different party promoters.
Right. And so some of them, they was around, but like they weren't doing, see, like if you take T Woods, right? If you take Macon, you take Shed, not so much Shed. Shed is kind of, but I was throwing parties when you had to get radio commercials. So it was like going towards the streets. Like we had to get radio commercials to promote our parties. And I used to have this party at Excess every Sunday. See what I'm saying? This is before the MySpace era, right? So like we were doing that. And like I said, and then we transitioned to, I stopped doing parties because I didn't want, when I came out with District 81, I'll stop throwing parties because I didn't want people to identify District 81 with me because the price of the shirt was so expensive. And I was like, man, people aren't going to want to spend $100 and some on a button-up shirt and they can identify who owns it, right? And I didn't know if they were going to look like, man, I drive a Benz. I'm buying this shirt for $100 and some. You know, what he driving, the owner. You see what I'm saying? So I didn't feel like I could live up to that image. So I digressed. And when this club called Icon opened up, a guy named LaRon, who was running it, he brought me back into the party scene. And that's when Rip and everybody, like that's when I kind of formed this crew, Ron, Dance, Rip, Meek, Kareem. And that's when we started really, really kind of getting back into the party promote, like heavy, to where it was like, just as much as I was doing clothes, I was doing parties.
All right. What was that life balance like? Because definitely nightlife will keep you up late. And it can definitely, things go left with nightlife. It can go left hard.
Yeah. I needed the money from the nightlife. Like, honestly, I was having a lot of trouble, like, keeping District 81 going. Because you know, like a lot of those net 30 customers out of town don't pay.
Yeah, and what goes, and were you thinking at the time, just like access to, like, when you look back at it, do you think like maybe access to a credit line, things like that? Or were you even like in that headspace of like, all right, how much more do I want to drive into this to bring in other partners in this space? Or it's like, okay, if I can get the cash, I'm gonna get the cash.
It really, man, like I had a lot, man, I ended up getting a line of credit once. Got a line of credit, got some clothes manufactured in China, man. And when I got the product, man, all the buttons, the jeans fell off the jeans.
Damn.
The rivets, which a rivet on a jean is like the button, the steel button that you button up, and then all of the little hardware that's on the jeans, those are your rivets. So as you got a button, and then you got the rivets. So the button, that fastened the jeans up, on the outside, bro, it looked like it was metal.
Damn,
bro. And they wrapped it. They wrapped plastic with like a steel looking tape or something, and it had my logo embossed on and everything. And all of that fell, man, it fell off.
Damn.
So it was like I had a lot of bad experiences with clothing to the point where it was like the parties was the only thing that was keeping it going.
Was something that you knew you could rely on, a system you knew, and you could keep things afloat.
Yeah, because we could throw a party at Cloud 9 back in the day in the Fisher Building and throw it once a month, and you know you could walk out of there with 12,000, 16,000. You know what I mean? And I would take that money. That would be the only reason why I could re-up on the clothes. Yeah, because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Okay. All right. So now in this space, film. where does film come into play? Because that was where like I got the message and I was like, yo, this is like extra professional. You could have just texted me and I would have got you in anyway. But this is an interview that I'm glad to have. And so much of that you're giving like so much perspective to those people thinking about clothing and what your journey was and how that is, as that is definitely one of those businesses like the net 30 and you know, chasing down the money and who you got working with you and all of that stuff. It can be a lot like many other businesses,
Sure.
but you know, the diligence of it, film.
Yeah, you become like a bill collector. You know what I'm saying? When you
Mhm.
start, and it's tough. But you know, well, so if we talk about the journey, like how I got into film, right? It's like basically, um, I had the store on Livernois, and then that led me to be approached by two gentlemen that I've did business with in the past to be a financial backer for a comedy club at the time. And I agreed to do it. I became partners with them on a comedy club.
Mhm.
And eventually, so we had a comedy club. We did food and beverage, and I utilized kind of like my promotion background for the parties to kind of help me promote the comedy club.
Yeah.
And then two of my friends that like how I met you, Rip and his brother Malik, they bought the two partners out, and
Mhm.
then we expanded and opened up a sports bar in the front called North Bar and Grill.
Mhm.
So, you know, so instead of throwing parties now, I own my own sports bar comedy club. During the process, you know, I always wanted to do everything that I saw Russell Simmons and Master P, Damon Dash and all them do.
Mm.
And one thing that, you know, they were music first. I was clothing first. When they had clothing brands, obviously, all of them, and some more successful than others. Master P's clothes didn't work so much. But Diddy had Sean John. He had the music. He had the, you know, and Jay-Z and Damon Dash. Damon Dash did the movie, Paid in Full. Master P had I'm About It. So it was something I always looked up to doing. Like, man, I want to do all these different things within the entrepreneurial space. I never wanted to put my name behind the film quality that low budget films had.
Mm.
I always felt like it didn't look good. But I always respected Moolah Films, who did Plug Love, Buffed Up. So when I used to run into T, the owner, my first time meeting him, you know, he knew of District 81.
Mhm.
And a lot of times I meet people and they are like, that's one of the first businesses they know, like a real business that they recognize a younger person having. That wasn't a car wash or a neighborhood bar. Something that they saw commercially in their local space successful, right? Where they go out and they see a representation of that brand everywhere they go.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because that goes back to even like, you know, not to skip around, but when I made shirts and sold Mr. Allen's and stuff like that, it was several different waves of my journey that you couldn't go out without seeing something that said District 81 on it.
Yeah.
So it's like that brand has so much reach because there's people walking around advertising like walking billboards.
Yeah.
So it was like it got me a lot of respect among people.
But let me be clear though. It
Yeah.
was fly as hell too. Like actually, this is just in Khary world, whatever. It's like it's some designs that I wish still existed. I could get from you. It's some designs I wish I could still get from Kool-Aid,
Mhm.
and it's some designs I want to get back from Fame. But it's like, and I think that also is part of the lure of it all too. It's that sometimes those designs would be like runs where it's like that's it in the run. So it's like if you still have some of those signature District 81 pieces right now, and I'm sure there's some people out there with it. You may be one of the only people still with that.
Oh, you need to hold on to it too, because like I ain't going nowhere. You know what I mean? And but the thing about it is, yeah, like so when I met T, I gave him like a movie idea that I had. Now I used to always have these movie ideas, but at the time, and I never really thought it was real.
Yeah.
Like I never really thought, like you know, you come up. I never thought I'd open up a clothing store, and now I've opened several. So it's like at the time. I never thought I'd own my own bar. Like I didn't. I really didn't see it, man. Like I'm always an optimistic person, always faith, but they just seemed like far-fetched things, man. You know, you would be going through your seasons of doubt or, you know, or like struggles, and you can never see an avenue of you really actually doing this. Or, you know, so but eventually my partner with the bar, Rip, Rip used to help me with a lot of concepts for like District 81 shirts. He's just real creative. and he started coming with these ideas for movies, right?
Mhm.
And he ran them by Malik, his younger brother, who was my other partner in the business. And next thing you know, man, he had an idea for a film. I approached T from Moolah, like, hey, and I went to Sino Harris. Shout out to Sino. Sino is one of my friends. Like, he is in McGraw Ave. He is in H Block. He's one of the stars. He's in Plug Love. Some of the biggest movies ever independent on Tubi, period. So we went straight to the biggest that I knew. You know what I mean? And out of those relationships and the respect, I was able to get them to partner with us for our first film called An Offer You Can't Refuse.
And I watched it because I remember Rip was like, I'm putting this up. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to watch it. I'm watching it. It was cool.
Yeah, yeah. And so, you know, to go, and because I used to tell T, like, man, when I met him, I said, bro, I like how your films look, bro. Because he was the first one that I saw, like, the film quality was up to par. And then Dennis Reed and other people, Beezy, and all them, you know, but he was the first that I saw.
Yeah, I think definitely a look. One I really like, and shout out to like, Tristan's like my homeboy.
Yes,
so
okay.
shout out to Tristan,
Yes.
and shout out to Rook. That's
Rook. Oh yeah, Rook
what
is the
I'm saying?
homie. Shout out to Lisa Brown, Kamal Smith, DeWine Ford, all of them, the Key Harvey, but you know, those are the people. So basically what happened was he said, yeah, we can do it. I said, Sino had hooked me up with Derek Scott. He's a script writer. He was like, get with him. He had wrote like the first couple seasons of McGraw Ave.
Okay.
And some of the other big, I think he might have wrote Plug Love too.
Okay.
So he was like, yo, get with him. I got with him, got the script written. And at the time, like, we didn't know if T would do the film or accept it or not. You see what I'm saying? But he did. And that's how where we did our first film. And now we have actually 5 films. We got 2 out.
Congratulations.
Five films actually filmed. So we got 3 that are done. That will be coming out within the next few months. And we go to shooting our 6th film like within the next couple weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so we like heavy in it, man. Heavy in the
film. You all
film.
are in it now.
Yeah, we all the way in it.
So what's the film up now that people can watch?
So the film now is called My Man, My Man, My Man. This was our first film. Well, obviously it's our second film. Well, this one we didn't partner. Like we pitched another film to T after An Offer You Can't Refuse, but he was like, man, because he didn't. It's funny because like he didn't really. He thought that any other idea we was gonna have would kind of be similar to An Offer You Can't Refuse. So I think he didn't think to like say, hey, keep it along these lines. So when we came with this other concept, he was like, man, we read that, we don't really like it.
I got you.
And the script was done, paid for, and these scripts, at the time, they not cheap.
I would imagine.
You know what I mean? So we had a script paid for, ready to go, and he was like, nah, and we didn't know how to shoot a film. Like, we couldn't do it without somebody like him.
Yeah.
So we ended up partnering with Just Films, I think what is Just X Films, and he's our partner. We ended up partnering with him and actually shooting, we shot this film that's out now first, though, because T kind of put us in the right direction. Like, man, that's not the right subject matter. Those movies like that don't sell so much. Kind of make it more a love story. Make it a kind of like something that women would like, cater to women. They're the biggest viewers of TV right now. And that was something we didn't really know, like that he was moving in that direction. We couldn't see it. So once I came back to Rip, I'm like, Rip, man, that, T said, that ain't it. Rip like, oh, okay. It was almost like, oh, they want them kind of stories. And then he just came at it with these other stories that was just hot. And this like My Man, My Man, My Man one, we shot that. And it's going crazy, bro. It was the most popular 3 weeks straight. It's done. It's outperformed our first film that we had with a bigger company. I mean, so you see what I'm saying? Like we did a film, with a big company that's like the top dogs, and this film is not backed by a big company.
Congratulations.
And it's still doing extremely well.
Definitely, and definitely. So, as you look at now more so in this space, I'm sure you take a lot that you've learned in your business journey to all those spaces. One of the key questions that I got to ask you is what I usually ask a lot of people into any business ventures. How do you make decisions upon who to do business with, starting off new engagements? Because it's so much about relationships. How do you go about that?
Well, it's tough, but I judge like T was it was a easy because I when I first met T, it was like his vibe, like the energy I got from him. Like I knew he was solid. You see what I'm saying? Like I knew that he was a solid person. I never heard anything bad about him.
Mhm.
Certain people, you hear, if one person is saying something bad about you, right? And let's just say if I don't know, let's say I don't know you, um, and the one person that I do know that knows you said something negative about you,
Mhm.
said that you did something that wasn't of the best integrity, then I'm gonna take that into consideration, even though that doesn't mean that that's like how you are always, but it's kind of like just like a credit report, man. If Visa say you screwed them over, Discover won't mess with you.
Yeah.
MasterCard won't mess with you. American Express definitely not.
And that's what makes it even tougher, like being in the position of business ownership. Because in business ownership, especially when we're dealing with a lot of creatives,
Mm.
you can get a lot of different stories from different people. You know what I'm saying? So,
And some true, some not.
well, I
You
think
know what I mean?
sometimes I would say, how do I put this? It may be a little bit of truth in everything being said, but a lot of times until you're in that position, you're not seeing the whole scope of everything that's going on. Cause like, for instance, like a film, right? A film has it's so many pieces to create and put a film together. Like to the people that will have food there, lighting, the gaffers, running
Sure.
lines, the person that just keeps up on like the audio that's recorded versus the film and slating it and all this organizing. So it could be a person like doing makeup. And you could have a person that you just want to do like one scene, but they're a little anxious and they feel like, oh, this should be happening like this and that should be happening like that. It's if in that energy, you want to have like be obviously uplifting, like we gonna be creative, but it can go left fast because all of these different people that have different interests of why they're there all looks different. But the number one person that they gonna look at, it ain't even really that director as much. It's gonna be that person that's handing them their money.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, I mean,
You know?
so when it comes to a film, right? It's like it's the the um the director, you got the executive producers. I don't, it just depends. I think the director, the person that's most hands-on, uh
Yes.
you know, is the person that they're gonna look at the most to see how they operate and if they want
Mhm.
to, deal with them, or how's the set, how is it from being on set with this company versus how
Mhm.
is it being on set with this other company.
Yeah,
um and honestly, obviously, the better the environment is on set, the more people willing to work with you.
very much so.
Yeah, and and you got to be able to find your sweet spot and what kind of budgets that you want to run on your
Mhm.
films, because you got to see what the returns really are. And that's the thing about all businesses. I'm learning myself, man. Like sometimes, right, like the level of accommodation, right, that sometimes the market doesn't even bear enough money to generate the money to cover this level of accommodation that people want. It's like a lot of people that's providing that are losing money to do it.
Yeah, I
You know what
think
I'm saying?
so. Like a classic example, and shout out to Aero Service and everything. Like with McDonald's, for instance. So McDonald's probably is making maybe only like they're making maybe 75 cents on the Big Mac, but off kind of like what you said with the bandana, but off the fries they can make almost like 95% return back, right? So hence I'm gonna put this fry in this drink that I'm basically both making 95% back, and I'm gonna add another $3 to this so that I can make money. You're gonna have like that lost leader. And it's a weird dance in business, especially when we're dealing with like events. Cause even me looking at something coming up and I'm looking at what the talent wants, what the venue wants, the staffing that I'm gonna have to be there, the insurance and all of this stuff. So it's like, okay, best case scenario, my break even point may be 300 people to come here, and this place only holds 500 people. That's a high break-even point at that margin. Now, everybody that wants to be in is going to say, well, they do this in New Orleans, and they do that in L.A., and last week they sold this out. They're going to have all of that in your ear, but at the end of the day, them people are not going to be there. I've seen too many nights where I pay everybody out, and I'm losing money. And they like, you should have did this and you should have did that. Because that's where, like, you kind of got to understand, like I say, the bigger picture only really starts making sense when you're the person in that driver's seat and making those calls on how money's going out.
Because a lot of people go to restaurants, right? And they go to these places and they, this was bad, or this was this, or this was this was this. And it's like, and then you can go to certain businesses, right? And you'll see them with an army of staff in the kitchen, all these different managers. You see what I'm saying? This beautiful looking venue, right? This space, and all of those things that you're seeing, and maybe, and the thing is, with a certain demographic, you'll still get complaints, which is really scary. You still get food sendbacks, even with that
all day.
So it's like you're subject to saying, okay, what is the level of what quality of labor, what quality of staff do we have in this state of Michigan, right? And a lot of your management will represent like how much, like if I got a manager here, right? And it's funny because like when you get these people to run your business to tip top and this where nobody's complaining, you're going to pay them all the money. You're not going to see a slug because for them to do it, they're going to have it staffed up to this level. And before you know it, all the money that you have coming in is going out to those people to make sure that these people are speaking about your place and giving you these great reviews. But it's like, what am I in the business for, right? Like if you really have the ability to build up a brand, right, and have it look decent on paper, and you got this restaurant, you want to open up a chain of them and build it up and kind of lose on some and sell it, they're not going to understand that.
And as I've been in business longer, I recognize that, it's a lot of spaces and places that have those lines of credit, and they're usually paying back on the debt that they have to stay afloat. But like operating in profit, like a lot of Black-owned businesses do, it's a different realm of reality. Like, so for a person kind of knowing, it's kind of like, so like if my bar is basically to set where I need to pay down on what this line of credit is, I'm doing different than like basically saying like, I need to kill to eat. I got to walk away with profit.
Exactly.
So walking away with profit, you're looking at so many different things in a whole new scope. And even the like, what would I say? The other pieces that people like to have, need to have, want to have so that things can be afloat. That's where I look to, that's where, what would I say? Like some of the lessons that I can kind of get from anybody. It's like, how long can you stay in business? Not necessarily how much money you make, because it's a lot of businesses that are making money, but the liquidity and the cash flow, it's like so much going out the door.
Yes.
Before sustaining.
And that's what I call about, I'd say making money. I mean, profit, not generating. A lot of places highly generate money. And it's actually good to have those because those will get you loans. The more money you generate and you keep a bank account from going negative, like if you generate a lot of money, you got your personal credit right, you generate a lot of money through a bank account daily, every single day, and it doesn't go negative, the bank will loan you. You can go to all different banks and get a lot of loan money, and that might be able to get you involved in something else or to get leverage those businesses. So a cash flowing business is very, very good.
But it can become very, very dangerous depending upon what's happening with the real profits that are coming in. And as you talk about like the staff, and then it's like, what's the level? Because I mean, even right now, my sister that's in LA, like she's coming here, we're looking at prices. Like she was like, man, some of these Detroit restaurants are charging like LA prices. And some are. But the reality is probably what we consider those LA prices were probably supposed to be charged maybe 2-3 years ago.
And they paying some LA rents too. And that's another thing you got to realize. These places that you see downtown and these premier spots, brand new, people don't know how much this stuff costs. This stuff costs so much money on a monthly basis to operate. And some of them have opened up and started off. See, like a lot of black businesses, and if you don't have a certain amount of funding, we have enough money to open up. But it's a difference between a company that came out and they have enough money to sustain and operate and run without making a profit, without seeing it for like a couple years.
Yeah.
So those companies, they're going to come out the gate with enough staff, and they're going to be overstaffed in the beginning. They're going to have everything because they got so many people working. But trust and believe, when you see a place like that, if they're not slamming all day, they can't just be busy at nighttime. It will not work. People don't understand the restaurant business. You cannot just be busy on the weekend and think that you're going and on a weekend at dinner time. Because when you go weekend dinner time, but this place is open from lunchtime every single day to nighttime, and you can go there on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and there ain't a creature stirring, not even a mouse, right? Like in the building. You see what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden you think because it's banging on Saturday and you can't get a table on Saturday that they're able to pay these bills, and they absolutely cannot.
Yeah.
They are losing money, bleeding money. And some places make money while they're new.
Yeah. And while it's hot, while it's new and while it's hot. And then the next place, I mean, people want to go to the next restaurant. I kind of share this with a lot of the people I know that do performances, especially like comedians or like music performers. I say that like a great fan will probably see you twice a year. A good fan may see you like once every like year and a half. The average fan may see you once every other year. So it's like, so if you're in the same market and you're concentrated, this is just my Khary math with this, and you do enough shows where you beat the hell out of that market, and now it's like I want to pay you, where it's like I got a venue for 500 people, my ticket price is $30. I need to make sure that you can add to that. Hence, you're going to need that type of experience, because it's like, what is going to be that offering? Because possibly if I'm looking at booking you in July, is it some of those people that are great and good fans and average fans that haven't seen you? Most definitely. But if you've been in this market too much, it's going to be tougher. I'm going to need another call to action. I'm going to need something else to bring these people in. I'm going to need another hook so that this actually sells.
You know what's crazy, I will say, about in the comedy game, right? So in the comedy, you have comedians, and what you just said really relates to comedy. And so as you were saying that, I started thinking about comedians. So, you have some comedians that have a set and they stick to that set like it's like a script, and they're going to give you that exact set. And some people might have an exact set that they run for a year. The bigger acts, right? They might have a set that they run for that year, and then they change it. And so from year to year that you're going to get a different set. And I feel like our comedy crowd, like once they realize, like they keep coming, and even like 1 year is the same, okay, when is he going to change it? And they've noticed like that done came 3 times and it's the same material. They don't come again because they know it's the same thing. One thing that I love about some of that I can think of off top, Coco, Foolish, and even Jay Will, right? And even Boogie, right? Alton Boogie Williams. One thing about those comedians that come off the top that I can think of, the reason why, like every time I'm like, we market like Coco, Foolish, like even them, and that's what I had the most experience. And then Jay Will, I would say right after with them. But every time like they headline, their fans come. And I think the reason why is like they give you, like Coco is almost like not a material-based comic. It's like people come, they like her energy. They want to be around her. Like she got real fans that love her as the person.
I think, and that's almost like my auntie too. I think like where she's at right now in comedy, and for anybody that like, I'm talking of comedy, she's at that arc of like where Cosby was at, like where she can tell a story.
Yes.
And just, she's such a talented comedian that like she knows where to put the pockets and punching up throughout whatever those stories are, like almost at a drop of the dime. Foolish is also like that. Like, so like you get to a certain point, I think if you're that experienced where it's like, it is extremely skillful. the average probably won't get there in that comfort level, but yeah, she definitely got
It's like the type of comedian. What type of comedian are you, right?
Mhm.
I like if I look at Chris Rock. Chris
Mhm.
Rock to me is like it's about the hook. It's about the joke. It's about bringing it back home.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Dave Chappelle, I can just when I'm looking at it, he's just funny, man. I can hear
Yeah.
him just talking about. He can just talk about something current. You know
Yes.
what I mean? You know, it's just like when he had that one joke. He's like, what he said, OJ. I mean, I don't think he did it, but if he did, I mean, you know, and it's
Yeah.
just like him saying that. Everybody's just laughing because it's just how he delivers. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like he's conversational. Mike Epps is just like a funny guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like a funny guy, man. Like you can just see him. If he was sitting in here, he'd have us like laughing.
Definitely.
But I know comedians, bro, firsthand, bro. Like comedians that off stage are like introverts, man.
Very much so.
Like super duper
Very much
introverted,
so.
sitting there looking crazy. And I'm like, dude, how do you, and I booked them before, and I'm like, how did you just get on stage and turn into an extrovert? And as soon as you come off, you like,
But I think that that's sometimes that world. I think even in music performers, it's the same way. Like in booking them, like it's so interesting because like that experience and that expression in that realm of creativity, um, it just moves into like a different space, you know? And really we're all looking for a great experience of what that is. And that's where like all the other elements in that call to action all kind of come into play. You know what I'm saying? You want to get to a venue, comedy, you're probably on a date. You know, she coming with you, what this experience is going to be like for us, a way to break the ice. We can laugh at some different things, have some conversation. Is this that space that she's feeling comfortable? Because I'm going to be comfortable if she's comfortable. Like so much of like this, similar to even like with the film, like who is this audience that we're creating this experience for? How are we creating this experience? How do we get that through line? And I definitely think like in that entertainment offering or even the venue offering, like a restaurant within it itself, like some of the, like you say, that new restaurant or whatever, the new restaurant will get some of those vendors to be there,
yeah,
but it's still certain staples that you just know will exist because of the standard of like a Joe Muir or something. You know what I'm saying? You
right.
know what you're going to get. You know what that call to action is. You know how that feels going to be. If you go there on a Friday, chances are it's going to be somebody playing the piano in the middle of the Renaissance Center, and it's that experience.
For sure.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
agree.
So like in this, as and I know you said you got 3 more ready. You're
Yeah.
in this space now.
Yeah.
What do you like? Are you looking to like take on new scripts, new actors? Like, how are you see now moving as you're moving more into the film realm and the film company? What's going to be some of the next steps?
I mean, what my next, what I would like to do, what we as a collective have come to an agreement on, I should say,
Yeah.
is to drop volumes of films.
Wow.
Okay, so we want to, like at minimum, we want to see one film a month come out from us.
Wow.
That one film a month, and we got the IP, you know, and that's intellectual property, and we'll say concepts. So we like and I even have like I got plenty of movie ideas, and Rip got so many, and then I think he's just very very talented with coming up with the concepts. And you know, and I ain't too shabby either. So mine will come. My concept's gonna come right now. I'm just like the engine, you know what I mean? I'm getting out here doing the marketing, making the relationships, you know, and just kind of like creating like the vision for the business, you know, because like once I started to basically notice, like, because that's my role. Like I got us with Moolah, you know, and then I saw kind of like the way that I was like just paying attention. Like I just watch, right? And Rip is more so looks at the movies and gets to it and gets to creatively to know what to do within that space, which I almost can't even stay up long enough to watch them film. I'm more so looking at the business part of it, just like, okay, how are they moving? Like, and I'm looking at Moolah, I'm like, man, like, then that's who I looked up to, and I'm like, and I'm like, I think this is like, I'm like, I think I want to be a volume-based house.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think I want to come out here and try to like set the world on fire with these budgets versus I'd rather have more of them out versus me spending what versus us having spending. I'd rather make 4 movies and not spend try to break the bank making 1.
I like it. And similar, I mean, that's how you had the brands with the clothing. Almost like one fits into the next. Because definitely if I watch part 1, I'm gonna watch part 2.
For sure. And then we got my man, we're gonna make a part 2 to some of these.
Okay.
Because the beautiful thing about part 2s is that they go watch part 1. So you get all of that ad revenue.
Connection.
And and the views. And so yeah, man, like, and one thing we didn't get to either is I do have a new clothing brand, you know what I mean, that I've had for a few years, and the stores. Like I transitioned from District 81. I started Octane, me and my partner Bird. We in Southfield. We got 2 locations. We got one in Wayne, one in Southfield.
Okay.
And we really about to like totally level that brand up.
Okay.
I mean, and our biggest market we in right now is Houston. We had Chicago smashed when our actually in our movie. You remember Boo and Gotti? Boo Gotti from Boo and Gotti is actor in our film. He's in 2 of our films. He's in the film called The Other Brother. That's actually starring Mina Monroe, DeKey Harvey, and Bugatti's in that, and he's in this other one called I Think You Should Propose.
Okay.
That's coming, and he had a store in Chicago, man, called Flea Club, and we was killing it out there.
Cool.
Some things went kind of awry with that, but yeah, man. So yeah, they had some problems with break-ins. Just people coming through driving trucks, all kind of stuff through the front, but they had everything high end. We was doing very well in there. But yeah, be on the lookout for Octane, because really that's like, we really gonna take that to another level right now.
Okay. All right. So classic Detroit is different questions now I got for you.
Okay.
Very first one. Your very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
1988 Escort blue. I got it in 1996.
Where's the first place you went when you got it?
Dang, probably to a basketball court.
Okay.
We that's all we used to do was hoop.
Okay.
Back then. So I know I probably went to Inkster.
Okay.
Got picked up my homeboy. We probably went hoop for sure.
All right. So next one. You're the DJ at the end of the fireworks, Woodward and Jefferson. You get to play 2 songs.
Oh
what songs
my gosh. At the end of the fireworks.
Yes, sir.
Dun, dun, dun. What's that song? Dun, 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 dun. Thank you. Encore.
Okay.
I'm gonna play Encore, Jay-Z. And that's like perfect for that too. And then what else would I play? At the end of the fireworks. I know that one. I'm missing something that I would play, man. But I'll just go with I know that one, and probably March Madness.
Okay.
Future. I'll go with that.
All right. It's been selected before. And then the last question. You could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. Oh goodness. So I can rename Woodward after one Detroiter. I'm gonna call it Terry Wallace Boulevard. What is Terry Wallace Avenue?
Okay.
That's after T Grizzly. I was his teacher.
Wow.
I was his teacher at Cody once when I was teaching at Cody at one point. That was my student, and because because he opened up the gateway for the new Motown. Like T Grizzly opened up the music industry. Like that's huge for us. Detroit we got the eyes on Detroit. And I give like the majority of the credit for really bursting the door open, not cracking it open, not turning the doorknob, but for kicking that door open was Terry Wallace, aka T Grizzly. So I'm gonna call it Terry Wallace Ave after T Grizzly.
T Grizzly.
And maybe not this year, right? If I can rename it, he too young now. But by the time he's in this, I'll rename it down the line. I wouldn't name it that right now. Rosa Parks already got her street. So I think that when we start looking back on things, right, like like just as important as Berry Gordy was,
Mm.
I would say that because T Grizzly didn't do it from the executive level, he didn't. But as far as from the exposure level, he definitely changed a lot of lives in Detroit, man. And now we own in the music industry.
I definitely think so. And then the way he's done it, just observing, just like being way more humble with each step of the way. Like I see, shout out to Payroll's new album too. Like it's like mature rap, I feel. But T Grizzly, even as a younger guy, has like some of the moves and the transitions have been like I've been taken aback, like, okay, this dude is like seeing things differently of what he's doing in gaming, how he's venturing into other business deals, and then even like some of what he's done to bring back and broker a lot of more peace throughout the city of Detroit. That's
for sure.
Really, really progressive in a lot of ways where I think people kind of don't see that. So I like
I definitely think he made a lot of, when it comes to that impact, in the industry, you know what I mean? Because that didn't happen, and that's why people are always so sensitive about this Eminem conversation and people saying their truth about him, about what they feel about the music. And it's like, it's nothing wrong with, like, Eminem is like is so big. You can't take nothing. He is iconic. But when it comes to like, sometimes it's a niche market. Like, so his niche market was not the streets. So you can't expect these street people to say that he was the one that they were looking up to. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think they say it with this bravado that's offensive. They say it with this like, and I'm like, no, you don't have to come with that kind of, because guess what y'all did do, right? Y'all start popping pills. And none of y'all was popping no pills before Eminem. So you want to act like he would, like y'all start using the drugs he was talking about. Because I never heard a person ever in my life mention popping a pill or popping an ecstasy pill to Eminem start rapping about it. So now let's just call a spade a spade. So all y'all talking about, oh, he wasn't listening to that. You were. Because you start popping those pills.
Well, yes, that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah.
All right, with that being said, we out.
You know
Peace.
it. Yep.
Detroit is different. Detroit is different. Detroit is different.